Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Inside Career Technical Education. I'm one of the hosts of this program, Ann Baldwin. And as usual, sitting across from me here in our radio studio, we have Jim Bologa, President and CEO of YTI Career Institute and Porter and Chester Institute. And we've got a big topic to talk about today, a great program. You've got a new start right around the corner, a lot to get to, Jim. So without further ado, let's get our next guest teed up here. Jen Stone, who is the Curriculum Development Coordinator for both YTI and PCI. Jen, thanks for being on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about the dental assisting program that's offered at both YTI and PCI?
So the dental assisting program at both YTI and PCI is a 9-month program where students spend 6 months in-house and learn all of the foundational skills to be a dental assistant, and then they have a 3-month externship. Our dental assisting program is offered in a blended format where students learn their online or didactic portion, which would previously have been what they learned in the classroom, and then they come on campus for about 2 days a week throughout that 6 months that they're with us prior to externship, where they learn their hands-on skills.
Yeah, and Jen, maybe you could talk about the three areas that the program focuses on, maybe a little bit more detail. I mean, I've often sort of thought of our dental assisting program as, around chairside, infection control, and radiology. Maybe you could talk just a little bit to each of those disciplines and how, that works into the day in the life of a dental assistant.
Absolutely. So as a dental assistant in the industry, a big part of our job is assisting the dentist in four-handed dentistry, which is chairside assisting. So the dentist really depends on their dental assistant to know the procedures, know what instruments and materials they need for the procedure. So that's a huge focus in our program, learning all of the different procedures that the dental assistant is going to see out there in the industry, as well as infection control. So students learn about the science of infection control, as well as sterilization and the proper way to pre-clean and disinfect, which is even more important nowadays. And also radiology. So they learn both traditional and digital because we still have offices in the industry using both.
It's interesting, Jim, as I sit in the chair at my dentist's office, it's almost as if the dentist has 3 hands because they so rely on that dental assistant. And you can tell when they get it because they don't even have, there's like this nonverbal communication when the dental assistant's, teed up to get the procedure done and do everything right. It's a great asset to have, in your office, and that's what you're training for.
No, absolutely.
Absolutely. So one thing that we do tell our students is you always want to be a step ahead of that dentist. So once you start working with a dentist over, the first 6 months to a year, typically that's when assistants are really feeling confident and knowing what their dentist wants before they even know what they want.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, I think, I enjoy our dental assisting program. Jen and I were just on WTNH earlier this week, and, we had 2 students in there who are actually in our industry modeled labs. And again, it's I think it's really awesome that you're able to work on equipment, in school and practice and, make mistakes and then, obviously get coached and by industry professionals who are our faculty and then go out into the real world and sort of transfer those skills almost immediately. And they were in polishing teeth when I was in the lab and, it's interesting because it reminds me of the dentist when I go to the dentist, and so it's a great atmosphere, I think, and I think as I've learned more about the dental assisting program, it's amazing to me, how your oral health really leads to like your overall health, and and I think that folks don't always necessarily either learn that or remember that. And it's been interesting to me as I've sort of learned more about our dental assisting program and all the benefits that accrue to it. So maybe, Jen, you could talk a little bit about, externship and what the expectations are since students spend, 6 months or thereabouts with us, in this hybrid environment, lecture online and lab on ground. But maybe talk a little bit about the externship and what, students might expect through that process.
Yeah, so the students start working with their faculty in our career services team during their second term with us, so that last 3 months prior to going out on externship. And we really take into consideration what the student is looking for in their career, because we want to make sure that it's a good experience for them, as well as, the possibility of employment after graduation. So they can do an externship either at a general or specialty practice. So some of our students find themselves, as they went through the program and they learned about different specialties such as like orthodontics, pediatric dentistry, maybe endodontics, they, found that they really excelled or really enjoyed one of those specialties. So they do have the opportunity to do that. And then they go out on their externship once we have confirmed a site and have a site for them to actually go to, and they complete their externship. And once again, our goal is hopefully employment at the site or employment very shortly after graduation.
It's interesting. I go to Beautiful Smiles in West Hartford, and one of the students there doing her externship is one of your students from the Rocky Hill, Porter and Chester campus. So how cool is that? So can you tell us a little bit about, because we're talking both about YTI Career Institute and Porter and Chester Institute, what campuses offer the dental assisting program?
So we have 5 campuses in Connecticut, 3 in Massachusetts, and 2 in Pennsylvania. So we have those campuses would be all in the New England area except for our Enfield campus, and then the York and Lancaster campus.
And too, it's one of those essential careers, right? What is the job outlook right now? I know, Jim, you're on top of this too, but how positive are things looking for people that are leaving your program?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the BLS data from 2016 to 2026, and Jen and I were just talking to about this on our interview, on our TV interview. The expected growth rate in dental assistants is about 19%. So, really well above the average. And I think it makes a lot of sense. Given the demographics of the country, and again how I think good oral health leads to good overall health. And I think that as the aging demographics of the country sort of work its way through here, I think that's most likely where I think that those trends and that demand are coming from. And Jen, maybe you can talk a little bit more about what you're seeing as well, in and around our campuses. But that's at a national level, that's that's the data that we often refer to.
Yeah. So that is correct. And one thing that I'm also seeing that does contribute to the growth is there's more and more larger dental practices or corporate dental practices opening. So they have multiple dentists working in those practices, and then multiple assistants per dentist. And that just is so they can see more patients at one time. And really the dentist is going from treatment room to treatment room, and they have an assistant in each one of those rooms ready to assist them with that patient. So that's another thing that does contribute to the outlook for the dental assisting career path.
So if you're listening to this podcast, we've got more good news. Not only is this, an essential job opportunity, there's so much going on in this industry, but there's also a new start that's coming up for both campuses, both YTI and PCI, and all campuses, I should say, October 19th. And it sounds like it's right around the corner, and it is, but the good news is it's not too late.
No, absolutely. I think if students are interested in starting their school and in and around our dental assisting program, there's still plenty of time for them to get through the process, the enrollment process, that is. And again, we're excited about this program. I mean, this program again, as you mentioned, is essential, and I think that the one thing that I will say as well is that it's amazing to me the amount of innovation that I've experienced recently, in our new normal, in this this COVID environment, in terms of how you actually interact in a dental office. And so they've done, I think, a very good job, following the protocols and trying to keep everybody safe. And as Jen mentioned, talking a little bit about the infection control and so again, I think it's it's a very interesting and rewarding career. So it's not too late to join us. And if you have any interest, we'd encourage you to go to yti.edu. That's yti.edu if you live in the Pennsylvania area. Or if you live in New England, you can go to porterchester.edu. porterchester.edu. There's a lot of information on those web pages, and you can actually apply online. You can schedule an interview online. Many of the things that we once did in person, we're now making available via our websites. So I'd encourage everybody who's interested in starting with us in our dental assisting program to go again to yti.edu or porterchester.edu.
Right. And to your point, Jim, you see them through the process from getting everything filled out to getting into the classroom and getting into their externships, as well as at the end of this, where we've talked about, Jen, helping these folks find, good jobs if they're not hired right from their externship, which often happens too. Well, Jen Stone, thank you so much. Continued success with your dental assisting program, and we want to thank you for joining us for this edition of Inside Career Technical Education.